Thank you for keeping it Smart 24 TV. You're watching SMB Smart Means Business with Rita Kabanyaro and Joram Sonko.
And well, we are definitely here to make sure that we guide you through your daily information regarding business matters. And as a matter of fact, we tend to give you all of this on a daily. Every morning that you kickstart your day with us is for you to get information, is for you to keep up to speed with information regarding business matters from the business world, business key sector players, and everything to do with business, obviously.
Very well, and we speak now about how the European Union has partnered up with Psfu, that is the Private Sector Foundation Uganda, till 2027 to make sure that they see Uganda's export goods, or Uganda exports goods worth around $700 million to Europe. And this is worth around 670 billion shillings, targeting key areas, for example, sustainable investments, there is economic connectivity, and skilling, which will lead to decent jobs, hence sustainable growth for the next 4 years. So when we speak about the next 4 years, that means we're lighting up to looking forward to 2027. But Joram, what we can do now is let us break it down here with this $700 million of goods. How is this money going to integrate in the key highlighted sectors, that is sustainable investment, there is economic connectivity, and skilling?
Well, first,
around skilling, around economic connectivity and sustainable investment, which one should take up, the biggest share? Let us kickstart it there.
First, the skilling is highlighting the young people, the youth.
The youth.
And in one of the bites that we've had for this particular report, the chairperson, Private Sector Foundation, did actually emphasize on change of attitude towards certain jobs or towards certain sectors of the economy in Uganda, because some young people do have a negative attitude towards a certain job. Someone comes out and says, this is Sogola Chikola. How will they see me? So that attitude needs to change. So that is the attitude he actually says, because he comes out and says,
I didn't go to school for that.
Because not all jobs available are going to be for a certain age bracket, or are not going to be available for everyone who's there. So that means sometimes luck has to play a part in people getting some of these jobs. So that means if at all you don't get the job, it doesn't mean you aren't meant for it. Maybe you have the rightful qualifications, but it's not your time to get it. But are you going to just sit down and say, well, I will wait for a time when they call my, let's say, my number, and I go for that
because I have applied.
So you need to actually get back to the drawing board and try to understand that it's also important for you to seek for these various skills, get skilled up, provide all that you can, or try to acquire more skills for you. Because at the end of the day, there will be a time when there is no job, but at least when you have that skill that can add more value to your life, and then you can keep pushing harder and harder.
Thank you for that submission, Joram. And when we speak about economic connectivity, we speak about economies, how they integrate in regards to trade, number one, because trade is the major main around economies, making sure we push. When we speak also on economic connectivity, you realize that as a country, sometimes you cannot just stand alone. You need a brotherhood, you need relationship away from that bracket, from the local bracket. This is where now we're going, as a country, we're going to use opportunities that come along with East African community, being in the East African community bloc. We have got to use opportunities now coming along with our immediate neighbors from West Africa, that is the DRC Congo. How are we going to make sure we get, we copy or get, let's say, some of trading or production skills from countries like Congo, Kenya, to make sure we implement them, because at the end of the day, exporting goods doesn't come with ease if you do not know what other countries are doing. For example, if Uganda is in good terms with Kenya. They settled down because we have been bounced back because of our maize that being, which is being of poor quality. So if they come on table with areas or countries like Kenya to tell them, you know what, Joram, you're Uganda, for example, I'm Kenya, and I tell you this is why A, B, C, D, this is happening, and this is where you need to do your checkup on A, B, C, D. And as a country, because this is happening 3 times now, they have tried telling you, improve on this, improve on this. That means there is somewhere where we tend not to really understand. Then you should understand now that, is it about farmers? Is it about the sensitization that we've not done enough? If government, you come to realize that from what has been happening, because it's been a recurring situation, that is where now you sit on table with your farmers for those particular goods that you want to export. For example, the $700 million Europe export in regards to the goods here are not just going to come from heaven and fall and you're exporting to Europe. We have to engage farmers. We have to identify areas and places, number one. Uganda is huge. That fact given, we have got different soils, soils that grow different commodities, that grow different, or that even integrate different production. That means you're not going to engage people in Karamoja region to grow, for example, maize. The region is hot. It's not going to support. There is no support of anywhere in maize around Moroto region. So that means you're going to engage more people in the western part of the country and tell them what, this is what I need. This is how you should try to farm around, and this in turn is going to give us this particular quality we want. That means economic connectivity there will be achieved by not just looking at what we have, Joram, as a country, but also copying and seeking advice from outside, using, taking advantage of the East African Community Bloc. Now we have got DRC on board. How can we make sure we put them on table to improve our standards? Maybe you can take us through on sustainable investment.
And also with, when we talk sustainable development, we also try to look at the African Continental Free Trade Area. This area means that you as a Ugandan can still go and invest in a country like Zambia, Zimbabwe, South Africa. You know, it becomes easier with the free trade area because it is now clearly showing you that there is freedom of trade on the African continent. Now, as a matter of fact, when we look at sustainable investment here as well, looking at the European market, I think with the fact that we are centered in the central part of Africa, I think it is actually giving us a wide reach of different destinations from the northern part to distribute quite a number of products, regardless of the fact that we are landlocked. But it actually comes in as a blessing in disguise that we have a wide reach of different neighboring countries. In the east, we are bordered by almost big economies that we can utilize. So by the end of this all, looking at the 700 million, and also there's a key highlight here, by the way, Uganda is also expected to receive some money from the European Union. This money may not come in as hard cash immediately, but it will come in the way of a grant of supporting these startups. Let's say the small businesses, the young people, mainly skilling up. The reason as why they're looking at skilling up is to see that they train the youth in Uganda, and also they train the farmers in agro-best practices. That is actually agro-best, not even the best, but the best, so that they can actually come up with best practices in the market to compete for the international the international markets.
That's a good move, actually.
Because when we look at some of the markets that are actually, some of the countries that are making it big in the agro business, countries like the Netherlands, that is under the EU, and also other countries in the European Union, on the European continent, in Germany. Those are some of the countries that have actually utilized technology to make good use of.
I was going actually to go to that technological part, because we have seen,
so it gets back to the scaling up here.
Yeah, the move of the way how, for example, Germany is you know, doing or involving its agro businesses, there is a lot of technology involved. If you realize, I don't know how many of you might call yourself a very big farmer in that locality of yours, the area you're in, but did you know that there are people who are harvesting sweet potatoes with machines? I do not know if you're doing that, but how are you making sure you're going to be a part
Even
of
the
that?
cultivation process, by the way.
Everything is machinery now.
Machinery. Though I think with the machinery it is good in such situations, but it's, when it comes to the African context, it goes back to who can afford these machines or elimination of labor.
But then, don't you think these are the debates that we should be having? If PSFU is partnering with EU, they should always try to give in that debate that, hey, look, there are other countries that you're taking care of, like Germany, but then they are using this type of machinery to make sure they mitigate time, they cut time short, to make sure they plant or even cultivate or even produce on, you know, a high market expanded range.
I think now with this initiative, it will actually prove to us whether we are ready to actually seek for that. Because we may want to seek for machinery.
When will be the time then?
I think we would be seeking for machinery, but now the key highlight here takes us back to the skilling and training. Because you may bring the machines for these people and they cannot use them effectively.
But then I still see last time.
You may actually see someone having a machine because now you've been given till 2027, can we export these goods worth 700 million, and can we export the quantity and the quality as well? So we get back to a situation where first you need to skill up the youth, bring the attitude back to them that farming is also a way to go. Then after that, tell them this is how we're going to use these machines. This particular machine can be maintained. Now, the other challenge that we face as young people is maintenance. And this is when the generation that we are in, I think the reason as to why, again, I'm going actually to go back to yesterday, one of the statements I made yesterday, that in top offices you realize that there are people who do not fit in the generation that are still stuck in these offices, but they know how to maintain. I think that is one of the key, or the go-getter they have than we have, is that they have a very good maintenance strategy. They can maintain things that have been there for time. Now for us,
because
we are very good at destruction. Because we believe if we cannot solve a problem, we'd rather destroy instead of solving. It's just like working for a boss. And instead of solving a problem with you, the best way he does is fire you. So at the end of the day, that means he's going to fire, or they will be firing everyone who comes out and creates chaos. So at the end of the day, here it's for the young people to change their mindset towards certain things. Because Rita, if you bring to me a machine and you tell me, you know what, Joram, you're supposed to use this machine in this way, I'll make it and sell scrap.
What I'm saying on that particular skilling part, if the skilling is going to come changing attitude around there, can government now try to set aside facilities for changing people's attitude, not bringing them to the skilling? Let the skilling be for those people.
The reality checker is, I think this is going to also be like a test for us.
No, let the skilling, Joram, because we want to beat up time. Let the skilling be for the people who are going to produce the exported goods.
True.
Let the skilling be, I want the skilling, or okay, I wish the skilling would be for a farmer, Joram. We want you now to, you've been exporting 50 tons.
Now you know that takes us back to
and
the
now
attitude.
I want you to
because the farmer, you will tell the farmer, I want you to export this particular ton. And
yes.
The best way you can do it is to use the other machine. It will help you. And he was like, baba zungu bale tebi mabyabo. Begin to turn on it. You guess. So now the attitude.
Farmers, some of the farmers have attitude.
Have the other attitude that ebyange bye bikola. Nze wenkoze senkumbi yange. You know the saying of enkumbi telimba.
But again, if you want to be a part of government inclusions when it comes to you being talked about, because wouldn't you want to be mentioned by the agricultural minister when he comes in your
when it comes to the fact that is the private sector seeking for these machines to actually see that we tap into technology.
Yeah, that's where I was coming to.
Highlight, by the way.
They should be making debates on how they can as well we can get the machinery here to help people plan,
to
help
at the
people.
money we are going to get.
PSFU, let it not be about money. But if we want to target skilling people, if we want to make sure people get that skill, people do an increased or expanded production around exportation, the money is not going to do anything. Money is not going to help me. Probably it's going even to change my mind to the worst, because I'm going to be selfish and greedy for money. But if you're bringing machinery, because this is a skill that is not going to be taken away at the end of the day, and you're making me feel like, hey, Rita, you know what? You can operate this. This is not just going to help you, but it's going to help the neighbors around your locality. That is what I need. Then the money can come when you're taking my goods as government, and then you're giving me something at the end of the day in an advanced way away from that. But also when we look at the time frame, the 4 years from now, I still see that there is time for PSFU to also try do moderate meetings with European Union to make sure they advance in some of the agreements that are being made here. Because also I feel like there is if we talk about sustainable investment, we're speaking about economic connectivity, we're speaking about skilling. Can we now break it down also, looking out for what category of people we're speaking about when it comes to skilling, when it comes to investment, because there is numerous of investments that we can do. But can we prioritize here? And I've not seen that priority in the story. That means that is a gap that has been identified. And to me, my prayer is that in the next other meeting, could you identify priorities now? Joram Paul, what do you think more priority should be given if we're speaking about investment? Investment is huge. You can invest in education, you can invest, okay, speaking even agriculture, because we're talking about exportation. But the kind of investment that we want should as well be as highlighted and considered. Also, skilling. Are we skilling women? Are we skilling men?
Waiting for this.
And I'm not even seeing women being given,
investment, because when you look at the African Continental Free Trade Area, it actually highlights the fact that any person can go and, if it's a Ugandan, they can go and invest in, let's say,
any country?
In any African country. So in situations here, whereby we are looking at our investment, can we invest in those European countries? Because you may find out that it becomes very difficult. Quite a number of people have interacted.
It begins with the believing in yourself.
No, the belief is there. Are the policies willing to actually grant this opportunity for a Ugandan businessman to go and invest in, let's say, a country like France?
Investment, it should. The moment you've got shares around an industry in France, like you say, you've got, as a country, you've got some shares you own in Germany or whatever, that is one highlight that you're investing somewhere. It all starts with even corruption. If decision makers are still corrupt, Joram, all this that we see being highlighted, the $700 million Europe exported goods that we're going to, that has been highlighted, we're going to be, exporting, may not even come to light if we have individuals that are still, selfish in a way that they are mandating money every time instead of thinking other people. That means that is why we're seeing limited decisions here, even in that in the stories. But we'll be following up. Please, your submission.
Well, and lastly, in my submission, I feel the investment part still triggers my attention. Why? Because I believe if we can have a big investor here or a local investor setting up some of these franchises, I believe in some of these, if some of these discussions, we just trick these European Union people to see whether they can actually have this in consideration before these deals come in. Because now I believe at the end of the day, it's like as if we are put on a test. Someone tells you, oh, we're giving you market, but can you produce consistently quality and quantity? So that means at the end of the day, if I told you can't do that, it's going to take
you're thrown out of the market.
You're thrown out of the market, then that means it's going to look for options. He's clearly given you even an example that if I told you can't, we're looking at Kenya, we shall look at countries like Colombia. So they're already options.
But this is an advantage to Uganda. It's an advantage to Uganda to advance. It's now a reality checker that, hey, your goods have been bouncing back on even, you can imagine on East African continent. But now we're not speaking about East Africa, we're speaking about European continent. How are you going to make sure you're not bounce back and getting embarrassed? Or you don't feel the embarrassment when they bounce you back. But at the end of the day, the farmer down there who is the number one bringing up of the game, I also pray that they get a moderate and fair, fair options. Especially, for example, if we speak about coffee, farmers grow maybe coffee in that large number, or even tea. But the value addition comes with a lot of money and resources. And yet farmers do not do that, do not do the value addition. They do the plucking, they do the harvesting of coffee, and they do the selling. And to me, I feel like they're being cheated. If government can try to pull down all whatever is being in the middle there, or whatever is being done away from harvesting, how that coffee gets to be I want to use that word, added value on through use of certain technologies. And I don't mean that government should provide Sonko as an individual with that particular machine or technology. No, in one sub-county, if there is just in one sub-county, if government can put two machinery for that particular one sub-county, there is going to be a lot of change. Because someone will know in a particular village, yes, we have plucked out we have harvested coffee. After that, we are going to genda kumwe wali on the sub-county. In this particular village, they gave us this particular week. Other weeks, bieri nebwe batyo. So, like you program on that particular highly, standard. That is the only way we are going to also improve the sustainability resources or even life of that farmer who grows around there. Unless you have the last submission, we will be going for a break. John.
No, really. I still think this is high time for us, actually, also the farmers in Uganda, to utilize this opportunity still and try and see that we can beat this particular competition and get that market ready, because it's now ahead of us here with this particular deal between the Private Sector Foundation and the European Union.
Very well, we're going to go into a break, but the day is on. You can still be a part of the weather forecast coming up after the break. Stick around.